I've lived in this small town my whole life, and I never thought I'd see the day when everything would change. But that's exactly what happened when old Mrs. Hawkins, the local fortune teller, made her chilling prediction. It was a warm summer evening when she stumbled out of her shop, eyes wild, and started shouting about a blood-red moon that would bring doom to us all. At first, we laughed it off. Mrs. Hawkins was known for her dramatic predictions, and we'd learned to take them with a grain of salt. But this time was different. There was a fear in her voice that made even the biggest skeptics pause. She spoke of a prophecy, passed down through generations of her family. When the moon turns the color of blood, she said, the veil between worlds would thin. Dark forces would seep into our reality, bringing chaos and destruction in their wake. We tried to go about our lives as normal, but Mrs. Hawkins' words lingered in the back of our minds. And then, strange things started happening around town. It began with small incidents that were easy to brush off. Pets acting oddly, electronics malfunctioning, shadows moving when they shouldn't. But as the days passed and the prophesied blood-red moon drew closer, things got worse. People reported hearing whispers in empty rooms, seeing figures out of the corner of their eyes that vanished when they turned to look. The air felt heavy, charged with an energy that made our skin crawl. The town split into two camps. There were those who believed the prophecy and started preparing for the worst, stocking up on supplies and barricading their homes. Then there were the skeptics, who insisted it was all mass hysteria, that we were letting our imaginations run wild. I found myself caught in the middle, not sure what to believe, but I couldn't deny the growing sense of dread that settled over our town like a thick fog. Even the staunchest non-believers started to look nervous as the date of the blood-red moon approached. A week before the predicted event, things took a turn for the worse. People started disappearing. At first, it was just one or two, and we told ourselves they must have left town to escape the growing panic. But then more vanished, leaving behind half-eaten meals and running cars as if they'd been snatched away in the blink of an eye. The police were overwhelmed, trying to maintain order as fear gripped the town. Neighbors turned on each other, accusing one another of being in league with whatever dark forces were at work. Friends I'd known my whole life suddenly became strangers, their eyes filled with suspicion and fear. As the night of the blood-red moon finally arrived, the town was a powder keg ready to explode. Some families huddled together in their homes, while others gathered in churches, praying for salvation. A brave few ventured out into the streets, determined to face whatever was coming head-on. I found myself standing alone in my backyard, watching as the moon slowly rose in the sky. At first, it looked normal, and I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe it had all been a mistake, a mass delusion brought on by fear and superstition. But then, before my eyes, the moon began to change. Its silvery surface darkened, taking on a reddish hue that deepened with each passing moment. Soon, it hung in the sky like a giant bloody eye, staring down at our terrified town. As the blood-red moon reached its peak, an eerie silence fell over everything. No crickets chirped, no dogs barked, even the wind seemed to hold its breath. And in that silence, I heard it. A low, rumbling sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The prophecy was true. The veil was thinning, and whatever waited on the other side was about to break through. I never thought I'd be telling this story. It's not something I'm proud of, but I feel like people need to know. It all started when I moved into my new house on Willow Street. The place was a steal, and I couldn't believe my luck. Little did I know, that luck would soon run out. The first thing that caught my eye was the garden. It was overgrown, sure, but there was something special about it. The plants seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, their leaves a bit too green, their flowers a bit too vibrant. I've always had a green thumb, so I was excited to get my hands dirty and bring the garden back to life. At first, everything was great. The plants responded to my care like nothing I'd ever seen before. They grew faster, stronger, and more beautiful than any I'd worked with in the past. My neighbors started to notice, asking for cuttings and advice. I was more than happy to share, feeling proud of my little slice of paradise. But then, things started to change. It was subtle at first. I'd wake up with scratches on my arms, thinking I must have caught myself on a thorny bush. Then I started having vivid dreams of the plants, moving, reaching out to me, whispering things I couldn't quite understand. I tried to shake it off, but the dreams got worse. I'd see myself walking through the garden at night, the plants swaying without any wind, their leaves brushing against my skin. I'd wake up covered in dirt, my feet muddy as if I'd really been outside. Then the neighborhood pets started to disappear. A cat here, a dog there. People put up missing posters, but no one seemed to connect the dots. Except for me. I knew, deep down, that something was wrong with my garden. I started to research the history of the house, digging through old records at the library. That's when I found out about the previous owner. They called her the Witch of Willow Street. People said she could grow anything, cure any ailment with her plants. But there were whispers of a darker side to her green magic. As I read more, my blood ran cold. The witch had made a deal with something ancient, something hungry. Her plants thrived because she fed them. Not with water or fertilizer, but with blood. Animal blood at first, then human. I couldn't believe it, didn't want to believe it. But the evidence was right there in my own backyard. The lush, impossibly perfect plants. The missing animals, the dreams that felt all too real. I knew I had to do something, to stop it before it got worse. I tried to dig up the plants, to burn them, to poison them, but nothing worked. They always came back, stronger than ever. And with each attempt, the dreams got more intense, more violent. One night, I woke up in the garden, dirt under my fingernails, a shovel in my hand. There was a freshly dug hole at my feet, and I could hear sirens in the distance. That's when I realized the horrible truth. The garden had chosen me as its new caretaker, and it was hungry. I ran, packed a bag, and left everything behind. But I can still feel it calling to me, pulling me back. I see the plants everywhere I go now, in every park, every flower shop. Waiting, watching, hungry. So I'm telling you this story as a warning. If you ever come across a garden that seems too perfect, too vibrant, too alive, run. Don't let its beauty fool you. Because once it gets its roots into you, it never lets go. And if you happen to drive down Willow Street and see a house with the most beautiful garden you've ever laid eyes on, keep driving. Don't stop. Don't even look. Because the witch's garden is always looking for its next caretaker. And trust me, you don't want it to choose you. I step off the bus, my duffel bag slung over my shoulder. The air in this small town feels heavy, almost oppressive. It's my first time here, visiting my grandmother's old house. As I walk down the quiet streets, something feels off. The house looms before me, its weathered facade a stark contrast to the well-kept homes around it. I fumble with the key, the lock clicking open with an unsettling echo. Inside, musty air and shadows greet me. I flick on lights, but they barely penetrate the gloom. As I unpack, a faint whisper catches my ear. I pause, listening. Nothing. Must be the wind. Night falls quickly here. I heat up some soup, the microwave's hum oddly comforting in the silence. As I eat, a floorboard creaks upstairs. I freeze, spoon halfway to my mouth. No one else should be here. I laugh nervously, chalking it up to an old house settling. But my heart won't slow down. I finish eating and head upstairs to bed, each step feeling heavier than the last. Sleep eludes me. Shadows dance on the walls cast by trees outside. Or are they? One seems to move against the wind. I blink and it's gone. A soft thud from downstairs jolts me upright. I strain my ears, pulse racing. Another thud, closer this time. I'm not alone. I grab my phone, fingers trembling as I dial 911. No signal. Of course, the temperature drops suddenly. My breath fogs in front of me. A whisper, right by my ear. You don't belong here. I bolt from the bed, fumbling for the door. It won't budge. Panic sets in as I pound on the wood. Help! Someone help me! The whispers grow louder, a cacophony of angry voices. Leave. 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 The room spins. Ghostly faces materialize in the darkness, their hollow eyes filled with centuries of pain and rage. I remember now, the stories about this town built on ancient burial grounds. How could I have forgotten? A spectral hand reaches for me. I stumble back, crashing into the nightstand. Pain shoots through my arm, but it snaps me back to reality. I need to get out. I grab the lamp, smashing it against the window. Glass shatters, and crisp night air rushes in. Without hesitation, I leap out, landing hard on the lawn below. I run, not daring to look back. The town's sirens blare in the distance. Halloween night has just begun. As I reach the bus stop, I realize this isn't over. The spirits want justice, and they won't rest until they get it. The bus arrives, its headlights cutting through the fog. As I climb aboard, I know I'm leaving this cursed town behind. But the whispers, they follow me still. Thanks for joining us in the shadows tonight. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories every week. Have you got a story of your own? Share it in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And remember, the darkness holds many secrets. Are you brave enough to uncover them? Until next time, keep your lights on and your doors locked. Sweet nightmares.